This is Dante Williams, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
It is Teddy Atlas. We're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Keep watching. Otherwise,
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, since Mayweather and Pacquiao have finally decided who their next opponents will be, we're hearing criticism on both sides. Now, we're used to hearing criticism when it comes to Floyd Mayweather, right? By the decafs, because no matter who Floyd Mayweather faces, they're always going to criticize him. But when you hear criticism about Manny Pacquiao, it's a little different, because you know that it's not hating, because even Manny Pacquiao fans themselves are criticizing him. So the question I have for you guys is, who is facing the better competition? Now, and I know the majority of people are smart enough to know the answer to this question, but I'm talking to the people who don't know the answer to the question. I'm talking to the people who keep leaving ridiculous messages like they are clueless. I'm trying to educate them. You see, some of these fans are begging for the knowledge. And then you have this other group of fans, they already have the knowledge, but they're playing dumb. They're acting stupid, but really they know the answer. But it's something that they don't want to accept. But I'm going to do what I always do and just speak the truth. Now, I want you guys to imagine this. Marcos Maidana goes into the ring as the underdog against the welterweight champion, the undefeated welterweight champion, Adrian "The Problem" Broner, right? He beats Adrian Broner, knocks him down twice, wins the fight decisively. He has just had his biggest win, and now he is crowned the welterweight champion of the world. Now, this is the twist. Imagine, instead of Floyd Mayweather fighting against Marcos Maidana next, imagine if Manny Pacquiao would have faced Marcos Maidana then. To all my Manny Pacquiao fans and all of the mad rappers, be honest just for a second. Would you call Manny Pacquiao a cherry picker if he did that? We know the answer, don't we? We know the answer. And we know what people would have said if Floyd Mayweather said, I'm fighting against Chris Algieri next. Let's go ahead and just break down both of the opponents right now while we're talking about this. Now, since Floyd Mayweather's fight is an immediate rematch, then we have to look at both fights as pretty much being the same, okay? So Floyd Mayweather faced the welterweight champion of the world, just came off of his biggest win in his career. Now, Manny Pacquiao, who's been campaigning at the welterweight division for years now, he all of a sudden just decides to fight a guy in a lower division, right? Now, you can give Manny Pacquiao credit for at least fighting a guy who is a champion at that division, but nevertheless, he's fighting a guy who's not even a welterweight. And then you have some of these decafs saying, well, you know, Pacquiao's only doing the same thing that Floyd Mayweather is doing. How the hell is he doing the same thing? What does Chris Algieri and Marcos Maidana even have in common? They don't have too much in common. Chris Algieri is a junior welterweight. He's not a hard puncher. He's not going to be 17 pounds bigger than Manny Pacquiao. What do they have in common? I mean, they certainly don't have the same resume. So what do these fighters really have in common right now? Once again, when it comes to the decafs, you guys are always thinking with emotion. Most of the time that emotion is hate, but sometimes it's even love. Regardless, when you're thinking with emotion and you're not thinking with your brain, you will always leave yourself open for huge counters. You don't believe me? I'll prove it to you. What did people say after Mayweather fought Maidana the first time? People said Maidana whooped his ass. People said the fight should have been a draw. I thought Maidana won. That was Mayweather's hardest fight. Mayweather was getting his ass beat. He looked like he was afraid. So on and so forth, right? So I ask you the question right now. Who's challenging themselves more out of Mayweather and Pacquiao when it comes to facing their next opponents? Well, according to the decafs, Floyd Mayweather is challenging himself more. Why? Because he's facing a guy who they believe whooped his ass, was his hardest challenge, so on and so forth, right? By their own admission, Floyd Mayweather is challenging himself more than Manny Pacquiao. We know that Manny Pacquiao faced the safest opponent that he possibly could. We already know this, right? Pacquiao could have faced Amir Khan, Robert Ghost Guerrero, Danny Garcia. Even Canelo Alvarez is returning the same month that Manny Pacquiao was planning on returning in November. He could have even challenged Canelo at a catchweight, okay? And then there's other welterweights that he could have faced. Instead, he skips past the whole welterweight division to go down a notch and fight against a junior welterweight. So it's safe to say, I think we can all agree, even the biggest Manny Pacquiao fan could agree with me, that Floyd Mayweather is challenging himself more than Manny Pacquiao is, right? I mean, let's just look at the history of the sport. How often do we see fighters have one of their most difficult fights where they were pushed to the limit? They get the decision, but then they turn back around and give that person a rematch just because that fighter gave him a hard fight. How often do we see that? Not too often do we see that, right? Go all the way back to Brandon Rios versus Richard Abreu. Pretty much everyone had Abreu winning that fight. Did we see a rematch? Absolutely not. Mauricio Herrera, Danny Garcia. A lot of people believe Mauricio Herrera won that fight. Did we see a rematch? Joe Calzaghe, Bernard Hopkins. Very, very, very close fight. Did we see a rematch? I could do this all day, guys. I could do this all day. The reason why these fighters never took a rematch is because it was too much of a risk, right? You already won the fight. The guy almost beat you. Why would you take that risk? Why would you take a chance of going back into that situation to where you could possibly lose? Okay? That is what you call high risk. And this is what we got from Floyd Mayweather. This is not what we got from Manny Pacquiao for his next fight. And what makes Manny Pacquiao's situation even worse is Chris Algieri has a much better chance of beating Manny Pacquiao than Marcos Maidana does of beating Floyd Mayweather. How crazy is that? Manny Pacquiao is choosing the safest opponent that he could choose out of probably a good 5 to 10 opponents. And even that guy has a very good chance of beating him. Now, Manny Pacquiao, he should go in this fight and make a serious statement. He should go in there, annihilate Chris Algieri, knock him out, and show that that guy was nowhere near on his level. Because Manny Pacquiao is supposed to be a power puncher. He is supposed to be fearless and so on and so forth, right? This fight shouldn't even be close. But what if it is? What does that say about Manny Pacquiao? The double standards in the sport of boxing are endless. No matter who Floyd Mayweather faces, the mad rapper will complain, make excuses, right? He's cherry picking. He doesn't take risk. Now, when Manny Pacquiao is actually really cherry picking, really not taking that much of a risk, you know what they say then? Then they say, oh, well, what about when he fought against Barrera? What about when he fought against Ledwaba? What about when he fought against Morales? Wasn't that a risk? You see how the double standard works? If Manny Pacquiao is doing something that makes him look bad, then the fans, they say, well, it doesn't really matter what he does now because he's already done stuff previously. Now, we all know what Floyd Mayweather has accomplished in the last 18 years. So how come that doesn't apply for Floyd Mayweather? Even though he's still facing tough competition today and still considered the best fighter in the world. These mad rappers, they still can't give him credit, but then they'll give Manny Pacquiao credit for fighting against the weakest opposition that he could pick because of what Manny Pacquiao did 5, 10 years ago. Does that make any sense? Of course it doesn't make any sense. These type of fans, they do the same thing with Marquez and other fighters like Marquez. Marquez turns down Ruslan Provodnikov, but then he fights against a guy who just got knocked out, Mike Alvarado. What do people say about that? No one's calling him a cherry picker. No one's saying Marquez is not taking risks. You know why? They say, hey man, the guy's already a legend. The guy's already done everything, right? So these guys can do no wrong. So the answer to the question is, of course Mayweather is facing the toughest competition. Was it even close? Not really. And for the Pacquiao fans trying to defend Manny, saying, well, he didn't have a choice. He was forced to take this fight. It was Bob Arum that chose this opponent and so on and so forth. Well, Freddie Roach and Bob Arum, they both shot that excuse down because they've said in numerous interviews that Manny Pacquiao gets the final say-so. Like I told you guys a long time ago, after Pacquiao lost to Tim Bradley, Bob Arum wanted to stage the rematch. He wanted to set up the rematch. It was Team Pacquiao that opted out of the rematch and decided to fight against Marquez a fourth time. They didn't want that fight, okay? It wasn't Bob Arum, it was Manny Pacquiao who did not want the rematch immediately. Just like Bob Arum wanted to make Gamboa versus Garcia. And it was Garcia who didn't want that fight. Garcia wasn't forced in the ring to fight Gamboa. No, he didn't want the fight. So the point that I'm making is everyone has a choice, okay? You may not have as many choices as other fighters, but everyone has a choice. Of course, Bob Arum is going to try to set up the fight, but you have to agree. The fighter has to agree to it. And let me just say one more thing before I end this video. Once again, Manny Pacquiao fans, if you disagree with anything that I say, go ahead and voice your opinion, okay? Just posting shit saying you're biased or fuck you, kiss my ass or some ridiculous shit like that, you're not disagreeing with me. In a way, it's like you're upset that you do agree with me, and that's what bothers you. So keep it boxing talk, all right? We can have a discussion. Just let people know what you disagree with. What doesn't make sense? We see people pull the hate card too often. You're either hating or you're loving. Whatever the emotions are, they are emotions, right? But what you guys have to understand is it doesn't fucking matter if you hate someone or love them. I can tell you right now, I hate the shit out of Manny Pacquiao. It wouldn't matter. That's no different than me going to court and let's say I have a defense attorney defending me, but then I have a prosecutor trying to put me in prison. Do you think I could just tell the judge, well, Your Honor, on the grounds of the prosecutor hating me, I would like to request that this case be dismissed? Do you think the judge and the jury give a fuck about the prosecutor hating you? They don't care about that. They want to hear evidence. That's all they want is evidence. Prove your case, right? That judge and jury are looking for the whole truth. And that's exactly what I give you guys. Oh yeah, and one more question. Since I'm hearing some people saying I'm not going to pay for this fight, I'm not going to pay for that fight, I want to know which fight will do better in terms of pay-per-view buys. All right, that's all I got, guys. I'm on to the next one.